All right, and welcome back to another episode of Toys Equals Midlife Crisis Squared, where we basically review whatever the hell I can afford. And so today, apparently, I was able to afford well, at the time, I should say, the Storm Collectibles King of Fighters 1998 Ultimate Match, my Shiranui. It says it's, well, when you order this on Big Bad Toy Store, they claim it's, what do you call it, an exclusive, but I think what it is just somehow they have the rights somehow to exclusively sell Storm Collectibles, because there's nothing written on here that says that, but you get this really pretty artwork from the original artist of SNK, and then you get the back, which kind of just shows what you get, sort of, kind of. It's just the same promotional materials that if you went online, it would be the same stuff, just out of focus photos, and these are her stats, if you can read Japanese. Yeah, or Chinese, actually. Sorry. I think that's Chinese. Yeah, because this is made in Hong Kong, so that'll do it. And look, you get the same thing, except it's, instead of blue, it's red. Yeah! All right. So let's get her out of the package. Well, I'll just say briefly that of the King of Fighters era stuff, I always chose her as my fighting character, because as much as I like some of the other male characters, if I have to sit there and stare at a game I'm going to lose, I might as well stare at something that's pretty. Anyway. Okay, so this is her now out of the box. And man, one thing Storm Collectibles never skimps out on is going to be tons and tons of accessories. So let's first take a look at the precious little female. Or we can drop our lights to the floor. Yeah, because that's going to get edited out. All right, let's try to do this while I still have some battery. Okay. Now, going over this figure, they only, I mean, she's kind of tall. There's something about the face. I mean, I'm not sure who or what art style they've based it on, but it doesn't seem to be this traditional SNK art. But as far as detail goes, they've definitely has my down for sure. And all of her lovely assets. It's well crafted. Gigantic bust, and I'm about to drop her to the floor. A lot of like this kind of rubbery material, you know, it's very loose, which is fine. It's supposed to be clothing, so it's not soft goods per se. And I like how her hair is on its own little, you know, hinge. But now, as far as articulation is concerned, I mean, Storm Collectibles is going to give you massive tons of articulation. You know, you can T-posed, it's double jointed, that it's like perfect levels of double joint, where you can get, you know, the full range of motion that you would want. Not much head movement, but you can look kind of down and kind of up, because it's on a ball joint, but it's, you know, if the neck were on a joint, it would be more interesting. And the plastic is kind of squishy. And again, double jointed, pinless knees. They work really well. Yeah, I guess you can turn the foot. So you can, it does have a boot cut, and it does have a rocker as well as a joint. So you can splits like it was nobody's business. Look at all that gear work back there. This little, I don't know what that is, this little thin piece of thong is barely even a thing. But you can see it kind of breaks up the design to a certain degree when you get too extreme. That's the only complaint I really have, is it absolutely obliterates the realism when you get too extreme. So that's the only thing I will say is the only thing wrong. She can rotate and it's got some movement, but not a lot. So it's some kind of a ball joint there. And it's different from some Storm Collectibles. You usually have a cut right there at the breast area, and this one does not. But still, not horrible in terms of design. Set her aside because we got a bunch of accessories. Oh, and by the way, the background is kind of a printout of the arcade background. So we're going to start with the severed heads. She gets like 3 of them. So here's the I'll Be Screaming head. Now this one, actually, interestingly enough, looks a little more like the SNK art style for some reason. In the eyes, but for some reason the normal smiley one doesn't. Am I just unusual with that? So you get this one. You get this more winky dink. Oh, I think I've lost my light. So sorry. Let's just do that. So here you get the winky, smiley, quirky, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. And all the hair is on this kind of a rotatey thing, or it just falls off. There you go. And then you come with one where it's in her mouth. The fan is just kind of built into her mouth. And it does have a tassel that is on kind of a weird little joint thing. So that's kind of interesting. And then you get, oh my God, like pairs of hands. So you get like the chopping hands, right? You get a pair of those. You get a pair of gripping hands, right? And you get a pair of pointing fingers, so 2 sets of pointing fingers. You get 2 sets of ninjutsu spell fingers. And you get 2 sets of, I'm going to guess this is holding the fan fingers, because similar to this, you get 2 sets of just plain open, spirit finger hands. And you get a stand. Clear stand. It comes with several. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It comes with 6 of these segments. You can make it really tall. I think it's only just to hold a particular fire thing. Then you get an open fan with a free tassel. So it wiggles around. It's interesting. So you get that she can throw. You get the one before she throws it, so you get the closed fan with a free open tassel. And you get one on fire, baby. Yeah, you get one on fire. Ka-choosin'. Oh. Anyway, so you get that. That's really cool. And this is, I don't know how it would, oh, there it is. So there's a hole there that attaches to the base, like this. So that, you can do some photography of it, And I've got plans for that. And then finally, well, not really finally, but sort of finally, you get this massive ass fire effect, right? So what this is for is, it's supposed to open up. It kind of opens up. Oops, move the camera. It opens up because you can envelop her body with the fire. So you kind of have to just it's not on any kind of hinge. You have to be careful not to crack it. But you kind of open it up, place her in there, and she can do that flaming elbow thing. But that's just a lot of fire there. Kind of cool. Last, but certainly not least, you get spare hinges because, you might lose them. Who knows? I know that one of my other Storm Collectibles has this problem. But, so, let's do some, comparisons, I guess. All right, so first up in my comparison are the only other 7-inch figures I really have, which is the Storm Collectibles Tiras Flare and Loose Collectors replica Tarna, which I really not a big fan of. Just love Tarna, but not a big fan of whatever that figure happens to be. But as you can see, it scales very well. Tiras Flare is still a little bit taller and beefier than but still scales reasonably well. So in that respect, I kind of dig it. And so when I get, oh my God, I've totally blanked out. When I get Soul Calibur Taki, then I'll have yet one other 7-inch figure to compare all these with. But for now, this is essentially it. and I think they compare rather well. All right, next up we have X-Ray's Gladiator figure, and I apologize, totally forgot her name, and Nika's, oh my god, I forgot his name, Warduke. Warduke is technically in the 7-inch scale, but he towers over I mean, maybe he's supposed to be really big and tall that way, so I guess it kind of works out. And with the X-Ray's figure, they're on the verge of being out of scale. I mean, you could smear it, it could be gotten away with. They do kind of fit in terms of height and tone and build, and so it does kind of work, especially, I guess, if their faces are masked. You can't really tell one way or the other. But that's an interesting pairing, in my opinion. All right, next up we have Super 7 Steelheart and Marvel Legends MCU She-Hulk. Now, interesting thing here is that Super 7 does kind of match up. I guess Super 7 is supposed to be 7-inch, so it's supposed to be 7-inch, and so maybe I totes my goat's lot about not having many 7-inch figures. I guess I do, and I just never really realized or remembered it. But I guess Steelheart does kind of pair well. It does still kind of have that anime cartoon style. Now, obviously, the only difference is going to be articulation between the two. Now, with She-Hulk, the reason why I find that interesting is she's taller and larger than your normal Marvel Legends characters, and so as a result, she scales right to my. So I find that kind of interesting to a certain extent. And now for some shit that absolutely does not scale. So here you have Jedi Choice Chun-Li and Valor versus Pandora. And Valiverse is usually on the taller side of 6-inch scale, but she doesn't quite match up to Mai. Mai is still a little bit larger, and she towers the living fuck over Chun-Li. So unfortunately, you can't really take the Jada toys and match them up with the Storm Collectibles, which is kind of a shame, because it would have been a really cool, Marvel versus Capcom sort of pair-up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are 7-inch versions, and I think even Storm Collectibles makes Street Fighter characters. I just don't have them and can't afford to get them. So there is that. All right, well, let's go to some final thoughts on the subject. All right, so really my final thoughts on this is that it is an interesting figure. It's got really good articulation. After messing around with it with photos, there's a ton of different options that you have available in terms of how you want it displayed or how you want to do photography. So in that regard, it's very great. But unfortunately, to some extent, and I hit it well in the photography, they do a good job of hiding the seams of her butt with this kind of drapery. But, ultimately, you've got these really bad seams that can occur if you articulate this too dramatically. It'll completely break up the mold. Now, weirdly, like I said, there are Storm Collectibles sometimes designs these figures in such a way where even if you did it drastically, it wouldn't destroy the overall beauty of the female figure. And sadly, this is not one of them. So in that regards, that's the thing I'll ding the most points on. But everything else, it's reasonably well. To be fair, I kind of wish they didn't mold this together as one piece. I know that seems pervy, but to be fair, the figure in the video game, this was all very loose anyway. Even in the was it 1990s cartoon movie they came up with? Again, the outfit was supposed to be very loose, so it could have. They went loosey-goosey with this, with all the drapery. Why not that, right? And I do like the fact that these tassels are not only just rubbery, but are a separate piece. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. There's just a ton of options. So she's like $5 more than, say, Taki, and Taki comes with less stuff. So I think that's really where the price difference is. She has a lot of stuff. Even this this whatever this rope thing she has around her, that's removable. So it's very interesting. Anyway, I mean, price wise, it's $105. It's a little right on the edge of not being worth it in terms of money, but it's just right there on the cusp. And it's dancing that fine razor's edge. But all in all, I like it. I like looking at her, and that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Anyway, on to photos.